All right, let's dive in. Today we're heading to Shreveport, Louisiana, but we're not just looking at the usual sights. We're taking a tour of the strange, the supernatural, and the seriously spooky side of the city. Now, when you think of Shreveport, you probably think of music, right? I mean, this is the home of the legendary Louisiana Hayride, the radio show that basically introduced Elvis Presley to the world. But behind all that music, there's a totally different story. It's one that's filled with ghosts, weird phenomena, and mysteries that just won't go away. And look, this isn't just stuff you hear around a campfire. These are actual reports from credible people, staff members, visitors, even paranormal investigators who have experienced things they just can't explain. This quote right here really sets the stage for the kind of activity we're about to get into. So, our tour starts at two of the city's most legendary haunted spots. These are places where people say the veil between our world and whatever's next is super thin. First up, we've got the iconic Municipal Auditorium. I mean, think about it. The stage has been graced by Elvis, Hank Williams, Johnny Cash, you name it. But it kind of seems like some of the performers, and maybe even some of the audience members, never quite left the building. The sheer variety of hauntings reported here is just incredible. You've got your classic stuff, shadow figures and doors slamming shut on their own. But then you get these really specific things. Get this, a disembodied voice clearly saying, "I love Johnny Cash," or a playful spirit they call Sarge that messes with people's hair. And then there's the ghost of a little girl seen running across the floor. It's wild. Okay, so from a massive public auditorium, our next stop is a little more intimate. We're headed to a private home, the gorgeous but imposing Logan Mansion. It's this beautiful Victorian building with a major reputation for being one of the most haunted places in all of Shreveport. So the most famous spirit that's said to be here belongs to a little girl named Theodora Hunt. The legend is just heartbreaking. They say she was playing, fell from a window in the attic, and died. Her ghost is apparently pretty mischievous. People report hearing giggling, finding objects moved, and she's even known for playing with keys. It's that classic poltergeist-type activity. It's a really compelling story, right? But this is where things get a little complicated. Because when you actually start digging into the history, the whole legend of Theodora Hunt kind of starts to fall apart. So while the legend says she died in that tragic fall at the mansion, a real newspaper clipping from the time tells a different story. It says she actually passed away from a sudden illness in Hot Springs, Arkansas. This happens all the time in folklore, where a really good haunting gets a tragic backstory attached to it, whether it's true or not. And it leaves us with this fascinating puzzle. If Theodora didn't die in the house, then who or what is haunting the Logan Mansion? Okay, so we're going to shift gears a bit. We're moving from famous phantoms to locations that are defined by much darker legends, places where real tragedy and suffering are said to have left, well, a permanent mark. A perfect example is the old Ellerbe Road School. Now, the building has been demolished, but for decades, it was a total magnet for ghost hunters and thrill seekers. They were all drawn there by these chilling reports of phantom children. The urban legend is the stuff of nightmares, a story about a murderous janitor and a fire that killed the kids inside. But when you look into the actual history, there's just no evidence for it, none. The school simply shut down in 1973 because not enough kids were enrolled. It seems like an empty, creepy old building is a powerful canvas, and people just projected their worst fears onto it. Later on, the place got the nickname Satan's School, after some occult rituals were supposedly held there, which really cemented its dark reputation. An equally grim story is the Caddo Parish Penal Farm, known locally as the P Farm. This was a place of just extreme brutality and hard labor. And the belief is that the immense suffering that happened here left a deep spiritual scar on the land. You hear stories of unmarked graves, phantom cries in the night, and people seeing shadow figures. It's no wonder it's one of the most feared spots in the whole area. But, Shreveport's mysteries aren't just limited to ghosts. The strange stuff extends to the skies way up above and the deep, dark woods that surround the city. So this might surprise you, but according to the data, Shreveport is a legitimate UFO hotspot. It's tied for the third highest number of sightings in all of Louisiana. So what in the world are people seeing up there? Well, the reports go back decades. Way back in 1952, an airman at the nearby Barksdale Air Force Base saw a massive cigar-shaped object in the sky. More recently, you got people seeing everything from weird hovering lights over the interstate to these stationary, otherworldly teardrop shapes just hanging out in the sky. And speaking of Barksdale, this brings us to a fantastic piece of local folklore, the Barksdale Bubble. For years, people who live there have noticed something weird on the weather radar. Storms seem to split and go right around the Air Force Base, which has led to this legend of a secret military force field. So how does it work? Is it a secret weather shield? Well, the bubble is actually a radar illusion. Because the radar beam shoots upward, it creates a small blind spot, what they call a cone of silence, right over the station. So it just looks like there's no rain there. It's a really clever trick of technology, not some secret government project. From the sky, let's head down into the deep woods and the swamps. Shreveport is smack dab in the middle of what a lot of people consider Bigfoot country. The whole area is surrounded by hotspots for cryptid sightings. There's a private property that locals nicknamed Monster Central because of how often people see a big, hairy creature there. Then you have the infamous Caddo Lake, this maze of cypress trees where hundreds of encounters have been reported. And it's all just a short drive from Folk, Arkansas, which is home to the legendary folk monster that terrified a whole town back in the 70s. So, with all of this rich, mysterious folklore, the gothic atmosphere, the dark legends, it's really no surprise that it eventually made its way into popular culture. HBO's smash hit series True Blood is deeply connected to Shreveport. In the show's universe, the city is basically the headquarters for all the regional vampires. And in real life, a lot of the show's most iconic locations and opening credit shots were actually filmed right here, using real mansions and storefronts to build that moody, supernatural world. All of this leads to a final, bigger question. What is it about a place like Shreveport? Is it the deep history, the tragedies that have happened there? Or is it the landscape itself that makes it such fertile ground for these incredible stories of ghosts, monsters, and mysteries?